Hello everyone, welcome to the Jenkins Infrastructure SIG team meeting. Today we are the 12th of May 2026. Around the virtual table we have myself, Damien Duportal, Mark Waite, Hervé Lemeur, and Pratik Man with a GSOC student who's there to discuss with us about his project, his incoming GSOC project. Congratulations, by the way, for the selection.
Yeah,
Let's,
thank you.
you're welcome. Let's get started with announcements. First, the Jenkins weekly releases. Last week, we didn't have any issue except Docker Hub rate limits, as far as I remember, unless I'm mistaken. This week, no rate limit issue, no network issue, but the Windows images on 2022 were stuck, the Docker engine, which means the latest Docker C version and BuildX bumps that we provided does not solve that Docker engine being stuck, which is annoying. But yeah, anyway, a
We are
replay solved
still,
the problem.
yeah,
The
we are
Windows images are not up to date on Trusted CI?
no BuildX isn't really involved since we're still using Docker Compose to build our image. Docker BuildX is just there to generate Docker
Okay,
Compose file.
okay, so it's not BuildX, but the Docker engine itself.
Yeah,
Cool.
maybe
Well,
switching to BuildX will help.
if it works on Windows, why not? Right now we had to replay. That's all for the weekly releases. I haven't seen any other issues. Anything else on the weekly releases from you folks? Yep. Okay.
No,
Continuing with usual announcement, a word on the team capacity. Reminder that Thursday 14 is a banking day in France at least. So Hervé and I won't be there. Hervé is also off on 15 and I will have low availability because kiddo medical appointment stuff on Friday 15. So I will have my machine, but asynchronously mostly I will watch the production. Also, Jay is off at least today because he's ill. We don't know if he will be back tomorrow or not. We'll see. So he might be around or not. That means team capacity will be low until next Monday.
Got it. So, but we've got at least one of you available tomorrow for the LTS release. So
Yes.
the Thursday and Friday, we should be aware capacity is way down.
Yep.
Great. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Hervé and I are available tomorrow, as far as I can tell. Hervé
yes.
no. So Hervé will be my backup because he has some tasks outside the Jenkins infrastructure to perform. But he will be my fallback, and I will be there as main person. Unless Hervé you want to drive, I don't mind. But
I need both.
so yep, we are at least two. Okay, let's get started with you, Pratik, with the GSOC project. Let me open the issue. So if I understand, so can you give us a word about the project before I take over?
Okay, so the plugin modernization is project coming from the previous years, last 2 years in the GSOC. So in the first year, it was creation of the tool. Then last year, it stores some data in metadata plugin repository. And for this year, the aim of the project is the already stored data is there in GitHub repo. So I have to make a UI site which will display all the data. So for that UI site, we have created an issue.
Okay, so I see the issue. So that means, if I understand correctly, you need at least to get started a GitHub repository where the website will have its source and will be built. Or
Yeah,
will it be
it's
inside the Modernizer stats repo? I'm not sure about this first one.
there is not a repo about existing repo for plugin modernizer stats.
Okay.
So issue is about to create a new repository of having the name plugin modernizer stats.
Okay, cool. So that one we will be able to create. Selection of Jenkins Infra versus Jenkins CI organization is the first question we will have to solve team-wide today or in the upcoming days. The decision is made usually depending on what kind of artifact is being produced. If the artifact is aimed at directly Jenkins users, such as a binary, a Docker image that will be consumed by end user, it goes on Jenkins CI. While if the artifact is indirectly consumed, building a website, for instance, looks like that's the case. So Jenkins.io is an example. It belongs in the Jenkins-Infra organization. So I'm not sure about last year. I believe plugin modernizer tool should have been in Jenkins CI, but that's a problem from last year. At first sight, the plugin modernizer stats looks like something to stay on Jenkins Infra. So the initial request by Valentin in this issue looks legit for me. But there are other steps to consider. First, are my explanation clear? Do you agree or object, folks?
No, I think
Yes, it
what
is
you
good.
said makes sense. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
Pratik.
I think you asked the question for me. Sorry. Continue.
No, it was for everyone. So you're free to answer my question as well as Mark.
Yes. From my side, it's all clear. You get it right.
Okay, cool.
And
So
that's consistent with the Jenkins contribution stats repository that we intentionally host in Infra because it's presenting data about. It's not delivering
fair.
binaries to the user, right? So your description fits perfectly with how we use Jenkins contribution stats.
Makes sense. Okay, so the next step, when you have a source code repository, you need a CI, CD, and a destination. First of all, the destination, because there is only production that matters. In the future, at a moment in time, we will need something.jenkins.io website. However, we are on the early stages and we had some frictions in the past year with projects that weren't good enough for production or that were, let's say, creating issues in the infrastructure with existing .jenkins.io. Also, if we want a project in Jenkins.io, that means the students that are working on a GSOC are slowed down by the Jenkins infrastructure because we have rules, we have availability, and it can collide since the GSOC projects are time-based. So the proposal, and looks like Stats Jenkins.io had or was about to have this. The first step will be to have a website inside the repository itself instead of the Jenkins.io. So usually GitHub Pages is the first easy step because we don't want to build something too big or too constraining for your Pratik. So the first step will be, hey, let's enable GitHub Pages on this repository. You will have something .github.io, and you will be autonomous to deliver the website. And the website will be delivered from a gh-pages branch. That's the classical GitHub Pages behavior. That doesn't mean the website won't go on .jenkins.io. It only means you will be autonomous and we won't have to build something in infra until we are sure that you reached your goals. There is a question from Hervé in the chat for you, Pratik, I guess. Is the plugin modernizer statistics is aimed to be part of the stats, the Jenkins.io website which I'm opening on my screen right now, or is it a distinct website? Own site. Okay, I think that the issue is about. Okay, that answered the question. Thanks. Does it answer your question, Hervé? Thanks, Pratik.
Yes. Then has it been discussed to be in the same website, the same site that stats.jenkins.io? I don't. don't know what kind of stats will be displayed, or if it makes sense to be in the same website instead of having yet another website. Yeah, I don't
That's
have
a good
any.
no option. That's something practical for you to discuss with your mentors. See if on short or long term that could be meaningful to merge your website inside stats.jenkins.io. For now, we'll
Okay.
assume a distinct website though.
Yeah, I think for everyone's health and for the simplicity of it, we should go with a distinct website. If in the future there's found a way that, oh, it should be integrated, later step. I could see this concept also being potentially integrated into Plugin Health Score after it's verified, detailed out, confirmed, etc. But the initial, I like the idea of GitHub Pages that gives Pratik the flexibility of seeing page deployments immediately
Exactly.
without having to worry about Jenkins Infra and admitting that it's not appearing immediately for users that are using Jenkins.io locations. They go to a GitHub.io location and there they see it. So
Yep.
nice prototyping phase.
And also, if we are unable to migrate an existing website into another website for data visualization, that means the quality threshold of the website is not met and it shouldn't go on production because that means we won't be able to maintain it over time. So for me, it's also an implicit quality threshold. No worries, Pratik, on that part. Is,
Okay,
is
thanks.
that is that clear for you, Pratik?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm taking notes in the shared note, but we'll report in the issue then. So um, need a GH repo as per the issue. Need a distinct website. Will be a GH pages. So production for now. Autonomy, short feedback loop. Okay, so now CI/CD. CD first. We go from production to code. Shift left. The infamous shift left from the DevOps stories. Um, in order to deploy to GH pages, that means you need a GitHub action. There's no way we could deploy a website from CI Jenkins.io or Trusted CI or any of our private controllers. So for now, CD will be a GH action deploying to GHA. Yes, we are Jenkins. But here, in that case, the goal again is for you to have a short feedback loop. If you reach your development goals soon, then we will be able to discuss how do we migrate from that existing website with its own delivery system to the Jenkins Infra delivery system. That will be a step for later, an optimization. From my point of view, it's an optimization. It's not your first step. Which means in terms of CI, I believe it's the same, GHA. Eventually, CI Jenkins IO can be used for the CI because CI Jenkins IO is a public Jenkins. So we can create a job on this one if you request it, and that will give GitHub checks on the pull requests. However, CI Jenkins IO stops at you build something, you run lint, build, you can optimize, whatever, that gives you feedbacks, and that's all. Eventually, you can archive the artifacts, so you keep along with the build the result of the build. So you build a website, you eventually optimize it for production, and you have a dist.zip file archived and associated to the build. You get a feedback, it's red or green, and that's all, that's the limit. Because CI Jenkins IO is public and is not expected to have any credentials. No credentials mean no push to GitHub. You cannot push code from CI Jenkins IO. It means no push to any website preview system or GitHub pages. So for now, CI is CI Jenkins IO. Does it make sense still for you, Pratik, or do you have questions?
All good.
Okay,
And
cool.
that's consistent again with the Jenkins contribution stats repository, although it doesn't even run any job on ci.jenkins.io. All of its work is done with GitHub Actions because it deploys inside its own repository. It doesn't have a GitHub site even, so or it's not no GitHub pages for it.
So I'm writing this sentence, second iteration. I believe GitHub Actions provide an immediate feedback loop. Now, since that's the Jenkins project, it doesn't kill if you have time. I really insist on that part, and your mentors will be close to you. The way you manage your time, you have to set up different milestones. There could be somewhere a milestone saying, hey, let's move that GitHub action workflow to a Jenkins pipeline running on CI Jenkins.io. Only for the CI part. That one is a learning in itself because you need to learn Jenkins pipeline and to learn the constraint of the Jenkins agent that we are providing. So that's why it's a second step, again, an optimization. That step would also be a transition for migrating CD later again. I don't think we should put the CD migration in your GSOC project unless you are really efficient and goes through your thresholds, but that shouldn't be a hard goal. That should be nice to have. Now, the last thing for you, Pratik, is I understand that in order to build a website, you will need to gather data. It's a kind of ETL pipeline, cross repositories. You will need to gather data along with the source to build a website. Is my understanding correct?
Yes.
Isn't
Where is that?
what's a metadata plugin modernizer repo for? Isn't collecting data already?
So that's my next question. Where is that data currently located, Pratik?
It is in Jenkins Infra organization under a metadata plugin modernizer repo.
I see. Metadata plugin modernizer. Oh, I forgot about this one. Good. Okay, and I guess this is the source code we have under our eyes on my screen is the data which is updated some time to time. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So at first sight, data ingestion should be easy since it's in GitHub. You can download the data without credential, right?
Actually, we were deciding that the making a pipeline which will take all this data and aggregate all the data into a single JSON file. And
Okay.
that will be published in reports.jenkins.io. And on that, it we will build a UI site.
So yes, I understand you need a pipeline that will aggregate the data and publish it somewhere. Okay, let's write this down. Need an ETL pipeline which collects data from this repository, aggregate it, and publish the JSON file. Publication destination. So what I pointed to Valentin and Chris, and that we are saying again here, this destination won't be reports.jenkins.io. It's the same idea as what we said about the website destination. Report Jenkins.io is a sensitive web service. One day, maybe it will be used for that data. But right now, we need to build the whole website with confidence somewhere else before being sure that we go there. Because it's a sensitive service that costs money, that needs some safety nets, and that doesn't provide a closed feedback loop. If the pipeline fail to deploy to report Jenkins.io, you won't be aware because it's a private area. for security reasons. So that's why I pointed out to Valentin that maybe there could be another destination.
Why I'm not understanding why not using the existing metadata plugin modernizer repository already storing data to store the aggregate. But I don't have any other element, and I really think the mentor should have been in this meeting or in a distinct meeting to discuss that
I would
more
like to
easily.
finish with Pratik.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, but
Just,
that's a feedback for the mentors in that case, not for
yeah,
Pratik.
yeah, indeed.
But I agree with your feedback, but it's not for Pratik to manage this.
And so for Patrick, yeah, as we discussed,
Yep.
storing the aggregate data in that metadata plugin modernizer repository.
So, Pratik, did you catch Hervé's question? What Hervé was asking was, is there a reason, or did you discuss whether or not metadata plugin modernizer could also be the storage location so you don't even need the extra repository, just use the repository we've already got?
I need to discuss this with Johnson, but my guess is that while fetching the information from the GitHub repo, there is some limit to the GitHub that I can fetch limited data. So that's why, but this is my
But
guess. I will
you,
discuss
you
with Valentin and Chris, and then I will come to you.
just thinking out loud, nothing prevents a script to clone the repository to have access to all the data in that repository at once. Another part of your script or another script aggregating this data and then pushing this data as a result. I don't think those data needs a real-time refresh and can be updated daily.
That's
Again,
what
I don't
Pratik
have
said,
any
Hervé.
enough
Hervé,
element, but
Hervé, that's what the ETL pipeline is meant for. That's what Pratik explained. They need a pipeline to aggregate and push that data so that the
yes,
data can be consumed to build the website. You're saying the same
yes.
thing, both of you.
Okay.
And okay, so I'm writing Pratik, thanks. Um, could be blocked by GitHub storage limit. Because I don't know the amount of data, I have no idea. And that for you to check and report with your mentors. However, Pratik, the proposal that Hervé made and Mark made about using cool GH pages enabled in this one. That means you will have two repositories with two websites. So the destination, instead of being reports Jenkins IO for the data aggregation, will be enabling GitHub pages. So that will be the URL will be something like metadata plugin modernizer.github.io. And you will have GH, so the ETL pipeline will be inside metadata plugin modernizer. It will run once the CI works. It will read the data it has on its main branch or pull request, main branch usually, do what Hervé and you described, aggregate the data, generate the aggregated JSON, and deploy it to GH pages. Because GH pages has way bigger storage limits in the branch GH pages that are usually not the same as the rest of the source code.
I've put several gigabytes of file in repository. I'm not sure those data will attain this size, but yeah.
Yep. Instead of reports. So the proposal we are making, and that you have to bring back to your mentors and discuss, Pratik, is the Jenkins Infra team don't want to use report Jenkins IO as part of the GSOC project, but we are proposing an alternative solution using GitHub pages inside the metadata. That means your second new repository could read the data from the GH pages there and have its data there.
Yeah,
Is that clear? Does it make
I
sense?
got, yes, I got it. Thanks.
Cool. So we are going to report that in the issue. So we can have a discussion if there are counter arguments, objections, or other things we haven't foreseen. Now, as Hervé said, we will ping Valentin and Chris. Maybe they will need to discuss these elements with you and eventually exchange with us before throwing you in the pit with the lions that we are. So no worries on that part. That's also part of the game. You learn that when you build something, you need to run it, and we are the person in charge of running it. So that's why also it's an interesting experience. It's just that it takes us a bit of time. So that was the first time. No worries. Our request is next time, check that you prepare questions and elements prior to the meeting. We have the issue for today. That was a good support, but the goal is to have more precise question if need be. Is that okay for you?
Yes, I got it.
Cool. So unless Mark or Hervé, you have another point on that specific topic, I propose we move on. So Pratik, you are welcome to stay or you're welcome to go. No bad issues. It's just that we need to move forward on our other tasks. So unless someone has one last question on that topic.
No, all good for me.
Cool. So we are continuing with our other task. You can just leave or continue watching. You're welcome. No worries. You do whatever you prefer. Thanks. Next topic, priorities. The roadmap is up to date. Thanks, Mark, for merging. I haven't, as I wrote on the pull request, I haven't figured the Azure sponsored things. We are working on it, but the roadmap feels like more end user facing projects, such as the MSI signing or let's say big things such as Puppet in favor of Ansible. The current top level topic we have MSI signing should be finished tomorrow. We need to have the LTS release with the new signing. And there is a bunch of cleanup of the whole credential in release CI once the LTS has moved.
So on that sort of cleanup
Mhm.
process, and so we've stopped signing. We've seen literally no reports from anyone of any problem after the first day or two of the signing problems with the MSI file. I assume there's going to be a burst. I'll do my best to cover them. If any of you see them while you're on, just point them to the blog post. There's
Yep.
I think Microsoft might have actually approved the signature now, but I don't have proof of that. And once you've used your machine once and allowed it to install, it will not forget that. So I've got
Yep.
to create a scrap machine, yada yada. So
Even in virtual machine?
I'd have to create a virtual machine, and I don't. All my machines are physical machines. I don't have a VM on any of them.
Yep.
So yeah,
Windows VM or EV. But yeah, on virtual machine, it should be an ephemeral thing, so that will allow to test if you can easily create virtual machines. Okay, thanks, Mark. So that means we can continue. That's top level, but not a lot of tasks. All backports have been done. Next priority is the Azure sponsored things. We have to move the private cluster and CI controller to the new subscription. And we have the Puppet to Ansible topic. Both Hervé and I started to run proof of concept. So Hervé is playing around with removing GOS test harness in
Last
favor of
year,
Ansible.
yeah, it was.
We are playing around for now, and on my side, I'm studying the opportunities to build what kind of Ansible roles for Packer image that could be reused for permanent agents such as S390X or trusted agents. A few minor topics, but so we have them in mind. That's a kind of new routine I have. We have a Terraform version bump waiting since a few months now. That one is not as easy as merging a pull request that bumped the command line, because then you have to be careful to migrate or take care of checking all the Terraform project, first the private ones, then the public ones. So it's not an easy effort and quite a repetitive task. But yeah, I'm paranoid with Terraform bumps. I don't want to break states. Um, a pull request with a new Terraform CLI on existing projects looks a good idea on the paper because, hey, that's a pull request. What could go wrong since we don't apply on production? But yes, that's a shared state. So the Terraform plan will say, oh, new Terraform version, let's bump it. And suddenly you break your main branch that cannot run apply anymore. So yeah, don't break the states. That means you need to plan and to carefully do it project by project. So you decrease the time between you have the new version trying to run plans. Playwright, Hervé, do you want to give a word about what we discussed yesterday?
Yes, Playwright is Jesse recently added Playwright to his workflow CPS plugin, and the Maven version of this of Playwright is behind the GitHub one. So we have to adapt to our update command request for that. And also ensure that the binary is present for every one. I don't know yet how Maven is dealing with Playwright when already installed or with different version. The goal is to avoid re-downloading Chrome browser on every test, on every agent.
So help me understand. Sorry, I must have missed that. So it's that we've got a newer version of Playwright already installed, and Jesse's trying to use Playwright from inside Maven, and it's surprising him?
Yes, let me. Maybe you'll be more familiar with what's dealt with. Pasting the link in the discussion.
I've put in the note.
Yeah,
Only
and that you already gave enough, Hervé. I can go read work. You said it was workflow CPS, so I'm sure it's described there.
yep, I've
Yeah,
added the link on the notes. We have some action on the infra part immediately, the
Okay.
Windows part, because we don't have Playwright installed on Windows, and we don't have the browser stuff. So we could at least get the browser stuff, which is slow because it takes 2 to 4 minutes on the builds just to download the web browser data on Windows. Jesse confirmed that on Linux is so 55 seconds run. So I guess because we already installed headless Chrome on the agents. But between the configuration drift, between the Java artifacts and the Playwright version, as Hervé said, we need to downgrade the Playwright we have. We are one patch away, and we should be sure that we always have the same. In theory, Maven should reuse what is installed on the system, but even that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it behaves because Playwright is an NPM tool, command line tool, so not JS area. But at least we can ensure that we have synced version to avoid bad surprises and that we have Windows with the web browser stuff. So Windows should be, let's say, faster. We haven't seen any blocker. It's just slowing things down. So it's an optimization. So the priority of this one is low, but worth mentioning. Eventually creating an issue so we can track it. Thanks, Hervé, because I totally missed this one. We have, so I worked M file. MV4 version bump is also incoming. So that's tooling only, no impact on the CI Jenkins IO users. It's the way we manage Kubernetes management. We are using version 3 of Helm, and there has been a major bumps a few months ago during autumn. So we should be able to upgrade it. But same as Terraform, Helm tends to write things inside config map and secret inside the cluster. You can see that as a remote state. So if we start using Helm v4, it might have impacts on the remote cluster. So we have to be careful in the timing, not to break the availability. We cannot just book it on Friday and say I will see on Monday because it might break the ability to deliver. So careful. Now upcoming calendar, unless you have something else. Okay, we have a weekly and a team meeting next week. And tomorrow we have an LTS release. Mark, you are release lead, if I understand correctly. And you wrote a message. Thank you for that. That say we should start around 10 a.m. UTC. That will be noon Paris time. Looks good to me. Is that okay for you, Hervé?
Yes.
Cool. So in any case, I will propose to be the infrastructure lead person, and Hervé, you are my fallback if I have an issue.
Remind me, I've got to be sure I've got VPN access today. I'm pretty sure I do, but I need to be sure of that. If I don't, I'll start working on fixing
Ping us.
that.
Yep. Cool. We have a few credential incoming that will be for June, so no worries on the missing issues. I propose we delay for next week, but mentioning them. No security advisory. And Mark, looks like you are almost ready for your ceremony presentation.
Yes, I sent recordings to everybody yesterday, or to many people yesterday, and posted the recording as an unlisted recording on Jenkins.io, or not on on the Jenkins YouTube channel. So it's
Cool.
available to anyone who wants to view it. But I sent it to the board and to officers yesterday.
Nice. I haven't watched it yet, but I will.
And no requirement that you watch it, but it's 10 minutes. You could read the slides or read
I
the
want to.
text. Yeah.
On cloud budget. So for Azure, both cases, we are on track. No bad surprise, no good surprise. We are on track on what we expect. I don't have anything specific on the Azure consumption. Do you, folks? Same for DigitalOcean and AWS. On DigitalOcean, we consumed a bit less than last month. Not sure why did we have a peak last week? Most probably archive Jenkins IO being scrapped by whatever system. We don't block scrappers on this one, but yeah, in the future we could have to. But it's sustainable. AWS still a lot of credit consumption. Yes, we have many builds. Yes, we have still bugs with the EC2 plugin that sometimes keeps machine up and running or fails suddenly. And yes, we have optimization that could be done, especially on the BOM. Not the priority. We have high costs, and we should be able to last before end of year. JFrog, we still have a huge consumption. Way less than last month, so April was definitively the month of Dumi LLM scraper. Storage is stable. I don't have anything else to say on the cloud budget. Do you, folks?
No.
Okay, we were able to finish a bunch of issues. Some credential rotation. Thanks, Hervé, for the help on this one. Backports have been done for release, packaging, and Docker, so we're ready for tomorrow. Notably, Node.js, we tried to bump Node.js to 24 from the many websites we had and from a few GitHub actions. I've stopped trying to track the GitHub action that are still on Node.js 20 because we are using too many. So let's focus on the websites. In any case, we will have to fix this GitHub action because they will stop working when GitHub will remove definitively Node.js 20, which is a good thing. Jira was upgraded. Thanks everyone involved in helping us. So next year we will have to think, not to forget to tell Ryan not to forget to bump the Agile plugin. That's the second time that happens. We'll know next year. We had the Rogue release from Artifactory, pushed to Artifactory. One of the plugin maintainers on Jenkins CI had their GitHub credentials stolen through the 3V vector attack chain. So Daniel checked and confirmed that it's not an issue on our side. Nice to have. We could have something like repository permission updater that runs once every week or 2 weeks that will check that each plugin marked as CD have a corresponding Git tag and GitHub release to the releases in Artifactory. That could be interesting to have. If it's missing, then something wrong happened because you cannot have CD or manual deployment at the same time. For the manual deployments, I'm sorry, but there's nothing we can do if someone get their credentials stolen. Jay was able to work on Datadog Terraform project. That was a great exercise for him. He was able to fix some Terraform drifts. Hervé, do you want to say a word about Maven tools on our controllers?
Yeah. Our initial goal was to set installers as dummy installer, pointing directly to the Maven we install in our agent image. And in the end, I think that really few repository were actively using tool MVN. I removed them from those repository and we cleaned up Puppet code to remove those tool installer section.
It's only the Maven tool installer for now. We might have opportunities for doing the same on JDK in the future, but it's way more time consuming because we have many usages of the tool installer for JDK, even if it's just 2 environment variable in the end. But at least we don't download Maven on each build on ephemeral machines, so that should decrease the pressure on the Maven download mirrors and on the Apache Central.
Well, and I thought we had already done quite a bit of work to use /opt/jdk-xx on
Yep.
many
Oh,
places
yes.
so that we're not downloading JDKs regularly
That
in
is
most
correct.
cases. Okay.
That is correct. It's just that given that, and given what we saw for Maven, there were just a few usages of the MVN tool. The amount of usages of the JDK tool are bigger, so that's something that has to be planned, and we don't have that time for now. But yeah, we don't download things. And as Hervé said, we initially planned to download Maven, but yeah, less installation tool setup is less GCAS code to maintain and to define, and less pipeline library code.
Thanks.
As part of a topic that is currently open, I've set up mirror bits for the update center only to accept that to serve files that are outdated, even if they are up to 3 hours old. If there is a drift and the files is more than 3 hours old and is not the same size or the same mod time when scanned by mirror bits, it will be excluded though, because that means one of the mirror is too far away from the update center generation. Initially, that allows us to have less pressure on archive Jenkins IO when we run an operation on trusted CI or the update center. Usually, archives is used as a fallback, meaning every user from every Jenkins in the world suddenly start to download from the tiny VM somewhere in Frankfurt data center. With this one, we will keep using the mirrors to serve data until we have finished the operation, unless if the operation lasts more than 3 hours. That also allows us to have a mirror in Russia. More about this later. Finally, on the support task, we fixed a few support tasks. I broke buildix because Docker updated, changed the path to the plugins, and I missed that element. Thanks, Hervé, for taking care of this one. We are again able to run pull request preview deployment for non-admins for contributor spotlight websites. Other websites will be taken care of. Details on the issue. We basically split the pull request and deployment, so CI and CD. In the future, this pull request should move somewhere else. And finally, uncategorized item. Now, work in progress. So the items that are still being worked on the current milestone. Let's decide if we continue working on them and then triage. First, the next top priority, at least for us, is to move private cluster into the new subscription. So that means creating a new cluster, rsync of the data, and move the DNS record and continue there. That impacts Infra CI and Release CI. That work must start only after tomorrow's LTS release, of course. It's almost $30 daily. So that's quite the cost that we can avoid paying from CDF. I've put the first part of the plan, not the migration plan, but what we should prepare in advance. Any question on this one?
Mm.
So it stay on the milestone, that's our priority. Update center, as I mentioned, we had a request from a Russian user, and that's most probably the same in Belarus. We provide download mirrors, get Jenkins.io. And we have a mirror provided by and offered by Yandex that is available for both countries and only used by these countries. For the update center, Cloudflare and almost all Germany-based web services such as Archive, Jenkins.io, and DigitalOcean are blocked from usual Russian ISPs. So that issue tracks the work to add the Yandex mirror, which is also mirroring update center, but that updates every 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. So by accepting to serve stale data, we can provide a mirror for downloads in Russia. That doesn't work for fallback. If we stop update center and the mirror is not redirected to by mirror bits, they will lose ability to update their plugins. However, that's way better than no access at all. We are waiting from at least the Russian user who raised the issue. They should give us a feedback next week. But at first sight, from their phone and their data cellular network, they were able to see the mirror. So we'll see if it unblocked them or not. On the long term, we should think about eventually managing a mirror by ourselves there. So we can control when this mirror is updated. Because here it's not easy, and that's a trade-off in terms of security for the Russian users. We will need to get some credits because Yandex allows to host virtual machines. So we need a bit of storage. I think $30 per month is the maximum we will need. 2 CPU, 2 gigabytes. I think 20 gigabyte of disk is enough, and then bandwidth. So we'll see if this unblocks them, and if that technique works, then we can think about a longer term support in Russia. That thing will be brought to the board, Mark, I guess. I don't know, or Hervé, what do you think? We should ask the board if they're okay if we continue in that direction.
I think it's a good question to ask them. I don't see why they would object, but I think it's a fair question to ask if they've got. The last time we had political discussions at the board level, it was an intentional choice to get out of the business of political discussions. So
Yep.
I like
I
asking.
agree.
Good for
And
you for asking. New
I
board.
think asking, but scoped on, okay, it's not possible to run Jenkins in Russia or Belarus today. So stating that fact is important. The board is aware. And
Exactly.
if we validate that solution, we come with a solution. We propose
right.
that solution, but we keep some areas where we control because, yeah, I don't want it to be political either.
And the board, the current board, is completely different than the board that had that discussion about political. I think Alex Brandis is the only one that was on the board at the time that that discussion was held. So they may have a different vision of where things should go, and being sure that they're informed is really good.
Thanks. I'm speaking for Jay, unless you want survey regarding private builds monitoring.
No, we'll go.
So we received this week our first alert. So sorry, Hervé received because I'm not in the page of duty. I need to fix that. But there has been
Mark
alerts.
received, and Mark
Mark as well?
received.
Yes. We got our first alert for update center failing 3 times in a row. So that means the work that's performed by Jay, helped by Hervé, clearly is now in the right direction. So let's make this tooling a normal part of our tool sets. now, and so we should be able to track the rest.
Yeah. Now the embarrassing thing for me was that means I start to have to I must pay attention to Datadog alerts that previously I was ignoring because they were just telling me about disk space. So now I've got to stop being blind to Datadog alerts. Thanks very much, Hervé. Thanks very much, Jay.
That means we will have to write runbooks on elements to guide the person receiving the alerts about, hey, what should I do? Especially if it's the middle of the night or of the weekend. A bit of work is still needed, adding other critical jobs, letting third CI to be monitored, etc. Details in the issue. So the issue stays on that area. Jay is waiting from more reviews on the monitors, and Hervé and I have to work on adding other jobs such as RPU.
I don't know if we spoke in the 200 comments in the issue. Do we have plan to add the report build from Infra CI? Report jobs from Infra CI?
Report jobs. Oh, the job that the bunch of jobs that generate build report to reports Jenkins IO. I'm not sure to understand which jobs or project you are pointing at, Hervé. Hervé? Internet issue.
Yeah. We have Jira user report, maintainer Jira information, plugging and storing.
Okay.
We have a lot of jobs in that other services are depending on, and I think should be monitored. Or
Yes.
stale or your.
Yep. We haven't mentioned them, but yes, I agree. For instance, right now, one of them is failing. So this should have broke us. PagerDuty, I don't know, but yeah, at least once every 24 hours. Yes, so the answer is yes. Don't hesitate to. I propose to create a new issue starting from now because the build monitor technique has been demonstrated. So I guess we should be able to close it, and we'll need scoped issue about, hey, I want to bring that job or that set of job that makes sense to be monitored.
Yeah.
Cool. I will take care of closing the issue and wrapping up and creating issues for the things inside. May I ask you to create an issue for monitoring infra reports? Is that okay for you, Hervé?
Yes.
Cool. Thanks. Good point. We have a few update process currently running. GDK almost done. Waiting for LTS, and then we will be able to close. MSI waiting for LTS.
So
Same.
question on the JDK update. I saw that Eclipse has not finished a JDK 8 upgrade. That's out of scope of this, right? That's not scoped as a JDK upgrade. The ones we are most focused on are 21 and 25.
So I'm not sure because we tend to track the GDK 8. And
Oh,
there
we
has been
do. Okay, so we are
yeah,
tracking
so for
it.
me, it's
Okay.
in the scope. I forgot about it though. So thanks for mentioning it. I totally forgot. And no, it's not selected.
Okay.
Yes, because the Windows is missing. We have all Linux CPUs, even exotic ones, but the Windows one has not been updated.
Right. And not that there's not any crisis for that. It's the fact that it's taking them longer to do it is not a problem. Okay. So that is JDK 8 is still in scope for us as a tool, even though it's much lower priority because the only ones that care about it are outdated plugins that haven't been updated to work on a modern JDK.
Yes.
Thanks. Okay.
Plugin site API, but it works with JDK 17.
Okay. Thank you.
I tried a build yesterday and it passed without the output artifact has the same size and it looks fine to me, so I think we'll update it.
In the site API. Oh, I looked.
Thank
Alex
you.
took care of bumping the
No.
Docker image. Oh no.
Okay.
There is
Thanks.
the Jenkins file building the Docker image is in JDK 17, but the pipeline publishing the data, creating the zip is in JDK 8.
I know.
But it passed with JDK 17 as it's
Okay.
building with that. So
Okay. Do you mind adding a comment in the issue?
the one I opened to say we should update it to a newer version.
No, in the
Oh, this
GDK
is your
patch,
one. Yeah, okay.
in
Yeah,
the helpdesk GDK patch upgrade, because
yeah,
that's
okay.
part of the campaign.
Yeah, sure.
You can just add a comment linking to your issue. That's fine by me. The thought process is in 3 months. The next one we will create the new issue. We'll have to mention plugin site API if it still exists. So it's tracked.
Yeah, I think I will just
And
update.
I'm
Yeah,
sure we
I'm
might have
mentioning it.
other web services running in Java. I don't know, but need to be checked. But thanks, Hervé. Kubernetes 1.34. Jay is ill, delaying. Jay wanted to work on this. He might resume his work if he's back this week. So keeping it in the milestone. We have a support issue about core builds, but instance failure not retried, delayed. Missing time to spend on it. Because that one did not look easy last time I checked. There are retries in the pipeline, and the retries are not unheard. And that's something related to the EC2 plugin, which is still implementing agent as permanent agent. So the retry does not reconnect properly, or it reconnects, but does not find the right workspace. There is something weird like this. I haven't seen anything obvious, so need some time to dig on that part. Doesn't seem a blocker, but more an annoyance because there's been new releases of Jenkins every week. Now, on the triage part, I've selected the following issues to be part of the new milestone because we started or are going to immediately start work. This issue might not be finished before the end of milestone, of course, but yep, we have started these elements. So we mentioned GSOC earlier today. I mean, that one should be quick and easy. We report what we said and we create the repo and enable GitHub Actions. We have two issues that are consequences of Node.js 24 updates. We asked Jay to create separated issues, or he did for one of the two. First, we are slowly trying to get rid of ASDF for many reasons. The main one is security, especially with the numerous supply chain vector attack we had in the past. ASDF is really bad. We should only use signed packages by GPG keys and stuff. One of these steps is stop using ASDF and Node.js. The second benefit is not allowing developers of the website on Jenkins Infra to use whatever Node.js version they deem interesting to use. We should have the same Node.js version because in the end, when we deploy, we use a single Node.js version, the one we maintain. So the goal is to continue to have a shift left. There has been a long discussion. Yes, as usual, I write many comments too long, hard to swallow. Sorry for that, folks, but writing is important. How do we keep track of these elements? So details in the issue, but we have work on that part to get rid of SDF, at least on the Node.js part. Same, Hervé, you asked Jay, and that's a really good thing, to stop running npm install on the packet on the pipelines that we use. Pratik, if you are still around there, that could interest you. Never run on a workflow or a pipeline npm install. Instead, run npm CI, which I don't remember what CI is a short for, but that's another npm subcommand.
Okay, so
Yeah,
say that again. Well, go ahead.
means I have to use npm CI instead of npm I.
Yep, npm I never in a workflow. npm CI clean install. The npm clean install will read the lock file that ensure a reproducible builds. So by default, it reads the package lock, which has all the dependency tree, and will download this exact dependency. So in 2 months, if you run npm CI again, it will exactly get the same dependency tree.
Oh, and here I was thinking that CI meant continuous integration. Thank you, Damien. It's
And
not, it's an entirely different thing. Thanks. Okay. It's very healthy to use it instead because it says use exactly the versions that I've specified, whereas npm install will upgrade me.
exactly, because
Okay.
npm install will update the package lock each time it's run.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Warning if you use yarn instead. Yarn works a bit different. Yarn install is good enough. Yarn works with, if it has the yarn.lock file, then it will do the clean install. Otherwise, it will generate one and update dependencies.
Okay, so I've got to remember because Jenkins core uses yarn.
Oh
Other
no,
things use npm. Yes, Jenkins core uses yarn. So now I have to think in both worlds. Thank you. Good to have learned something. Thanks.
eat too much tools. System error. But yeah, so that's a task that we assigned. Thanks, survey. That's a really good idea to Jay. So he is learning more and more about our website project because we might want to do a pipeline library to avoid custom pipelines for these websites that will improve the security posture of the platform. Uh, Hervé, you cooked one repository that should be archived. So I suggest we add this to the milestone unless I miss something.
Yes. The yeah.
Cool. Let's start adding the big epic issue for tombstoning Puppet. So we can track the work at least that Hervé and I are doing, at least the play around. Hervé, is that okay for you? When you will have time, it's nice to have to create an issue about replacing Ghost by Ansible tests, at least a
Yes.
placeholder as child
Yes.
of this one. Demian to create sub-issues for their current experiments. And finally, I will want to bring the drop Windows 2019 support, at least for starting it as a support so I can go to SIG platform saying, hey, we want to deprecate stuff. SIG, no, platform SIG. I don't have any other issues from triage to add. Do you have any, folks?
I
No.
apologize. I have to drop off, so I'm going to fade away. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
I
Talk to
I had a
everybody
last
tomorrow
question
when
for
we
you.
do LTS. Oh, sorry, Hervé, what was that?
Yeah, a question, but it's not for Infra. It's about Docker. So I was waiting for the end of the recording, but
Oh,
uh,
go ahead.
it's a quick one. We're still publishing Docker agent and Docker SSH agent Shtick 17. No, no timeline for the deprecation.
I don't have a timeline. It's a good question that I'd propose we hoist it to the platform SIG
Yeah,
because
sure,
I
sure.
have to think about conceptually what it means, right? Because when we stop publishing JDK 17 agents, we stop allowing people running older Jenkins controllers
Yeah,
to use those agent images.
yeah, okay.
And
A discussion for the platform SCJs. And, yeah,
yeah, at least I think for me, I need some time to think about it and consider we probably need a policy, and I don't think we've had one, and it should be part of the 2+2+2 Java support thing, but it's a subtlety that I hadn't considered.
okay, thanks.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks. Take
See
care,
you.
Mark. Okay, I don't have any other topics for the infra. I'm just checking
No,
help desk to see if we have incoming issues or not that I could have missed recently, but no. No new issue. Any other topics?
no, all good for me.
Cool. Same there.
Thanks.
So Hervé, bon appétit. Pratik, have a nice end of day because I guess it starts to be middle of afternoon for you. So take care.
Yes.
For people watching us, see you next week.
So
I'm stopping screen share and I'm gonna stop recording and we can have a offline question right after.